Hello, everybody. This is Sean. Hope everybody's doing well today. Hey, today I want to talk about, again, it's kind of a continuation of the servant leadership model, and it's how do you genuinely put the needs of others in front of your own needs? Okay. And I was having some discussion with some folks on my team about that, and the question was, well, hey, that's great, Sean, putting others' needs first. And I think inherently everybody kind of feels good about that. But at the same token, they said, well, hey, if I'm always doing that, then you keep telling me that if I meet others' needs, that my needs are going to be met. Well, what does that look like? How do I achieve that? How do I do that? So that's what I want to talk a little bit about today. And I'm going to have a little bit of theory kind of laying underneath as a foundation for the topic matter. So let me start by the phrase or the adage that people talk about. If you love what you do, then you never work a day in your life. Think about that for a minute. So if you genuinely love what you do, then you never work a day in your life. So that's all fine and good, right? I thought about that. Whenever I first heard that, I thought, I love playing my guitar and singing. I'm not very good at it, right? But it's something I enjoy doing. So if that's genuinely what I enjoy doing, if I really love that, how do I now line that up with earning a living doing it? And so again, some of that depends on ability. Some of that, to play the guitar and to have people like it, I've either got to be so talented that, people just inherently like hearing me play the instrument, which that's not going to happen. Or I need to be good enough or lucky enough to be surrounded by people that maybe you form a band and you go out and you record something, or you play in clubs, or whatever the case may be. But that's not always practical, right? So how do you achieve that happiness doing something that you're really passionate about so that you can earn a living and kind of live up to what I said, which is if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life? Well, kind of two answers to that. One is, sometimes I think people grow to love things that they never anticipated that they might in the first place. So it's a little less organic how they get there, but yet they end up loving what they do all the same. They have the passion and the energy around it. And other people then kind of come at it in an oblique way. They might say, well, hey, maybe I don't have the ability or the talent or haven't had the luck to be that guitarist, but maybe I can kind of be in and around that in an oblique way, or in an adjacent way that can still be surrounded by it, engaged in it to a degree. Maybe not at the level I thought, but I'm still around it enough to where I'm enjoying it and working where my passion is. So maybe you write songs, right? Maybe you start to handcraft instruments. Maybe you become a sound person, right? I don't know, right? I'm using kind of a hokey example, but I'm trying to drive the point home that it's about alignment. Again, loving what you do, you never work a day in your life. So with that, that's then what I want to tie back into servant leadership is, again, it's about alignment. So how do you align helping other people meet their needs or meet their ambitions or goals? And then how do you align that with also hitting your own? So it's a very similar way of what I spoke about just a moment ago, which is aligning kind of what you love to do with how you can earn a living doing it. So similarly, again, you're going to put the needs of others in front of your own, and hopefully your needs will be met in the process. So how do we do that? Well, that's a little trickier. And that is kind of the meat of what I want to talk about today, which is when you talk about needs, or when you talk about fulfillment of human beings. I think back on Maslow, Abraham Maslow. I'll call him a philosopher, theorist, whatever you want to call him. But he had something that's come to be known as the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And you guys are going to be proud that I've figured out how to print so that it shows up properly on Facebook Live. So I'm going to kind of peek out the side here, real similar to my leprechaun. But just want to show you here on the sheet. At the bottom, we've got basic needs. We've got safety needs, we've got social needs, esteem needs, and up the top you've got self-actualization. So what does that mean? At the bottom, your basic needs are more of your physiological needs. Those are going to be, you need air to breathe, you need food to eat, you need water to drink, you need shelter, clothing, sleep, right? All the bare essentials. Okay, the next one's your safety needs, right? So safety, security, that could involve health or health care, employment, the ability to make money, provide a living that way. You might need some property, your family and support system, and then social stability. Okay, you're not a pariah, you're not a loner, whatever safety and security you have that way. The next one's your social needs. So that's love and belonging, right? Because that could be friendship, it could be family again, but to a different degree. Could be intimacy in a relationship. It could be a sense of connection, or and that could be relationships, connecting to a group, or identifying with a group. Next is your esteem needs, right? And that's confidence, achievement, respect of others, the need to be a unique individual. And then finally, at the pinnacle, self-actualization, which is morality, creativity, spontaneity, acceptance, experience of your purpose, and the meaning of your inner potential. Okay, so that last one's a little bit abstract, but basically it's before you die, do you feel like whatever you achieved or accomplished on earth, was that your purpose ultimately? So again, there's a foundation here if you think about this pyramid shape, meaning that you can't achieve these until you've achieved each one in the pyramid. Okay, so you can't feel safe until these basic needs have been met. And you certainly can't, meet your social needs until your safety needs and your basic needs have been met, and so on. So when we talk about helping achieve your own wants and needs by facilitating the success of others hitting their needs, well, you need to kind of understand what their needs are, right? You need to understand where they sit on this paradigm, right? You may be up here focusing on self-actualization, where they're down here trying to figure out how basic needs are going to be met. So how, what does that look like? Well, again, in the network marketing space, I always wear two hats, right? And that's what I was coached to do by people who know how to do this much better than I. But you've got your brand partner hat, right? Or your upline hat, where you're trying to support a team, build a team, basically help run in a business. And then you've got your product offering hat, where you're looking for customers that may want to buy whatever goods or services that you're providing. So, and sometimes they may be the same, and you've got to think both simultaneously. Like, it's a little bit trickier. But, for right now, let's focus on the brand partner, the upliner, the recruitment aspect of that. So if I'm going and I'm looking for somebody that I want to be on my team, all right, yesterday I talked about the EAT model, which is that you want to go find people on your team that have an entrepreneurial mindset, that they are achievement or action oriented, and that they have the right talent, right? And then we talked about the difference between skill and ability. Okay, so you're really looking for people with ability, I think. So that, though, is very self-serving part of that, right? So how do you go and look for the people with the opportunity that you and your company have to bring them in to meet what their needs are? Well, again, you've got to seek to understand where they are on this continuum, right? So what kind of a brand partner or agent, are you going to have in your downline when they're worried about how they're going to, meet their food needs? So, maybe they don't even have the $50 to do the startup fee, right? Maybe they don't have the money yet to get product that they might need to have in an inventory to have on hand to share and show people, right? So again, you need to be cognizant of what that looks like, and then you need to insert yourself, seek to understand where they are, and then how what you have to offer can fulfill that need. So it's really pretty simple. And so that's an example of you understand what their needs are, and then you figure out what you have that might be able to help them meet those needs. And it may be nothing at that point in time. It may be nothing. And so sometimes, where you may be able to insert yourself is saying, hey, maybe it's no today, but if I can help you through resources or coaching or guidance, or maybe you know them well enough to provide some monetary assistance, whatever that looks like, then maybe in the future then there's circumstances maybe where you may get something back in return in terms of them joining your team and crushing it, right? But again, as I think about this, well, it depends on you also where you sit on this continuum of why it is that you're choosing to help them, and then what their help provides back in return of helping you meet your needs. Because if your needs are also just figuring out where your next meal's coming from, that may not be the best situation. Whereas if self-actualization, for example, is what you're looking for, then it may be that that's a situation where helping them meet their needs becomes more paramount than you hitting a few, checked boxes in terms of sales or signing up brand partners. Well, you're just so grateful and honored to be able to watch them succeed that you're meeting more of these needs right through here. Okay, so don't just be aware of what your potential brand partners, where they are on that continuum, but you also kind of have to take a close look inside and understand where you sit on that continuum and what your needs are and what your goals are. Okay, and then align them the best that you can so you're creating win-wins. And if it's a toss-up, right, if you're struggling with it, always default in the favor of the person that you're helping rather than your own personal needs. And I promise you it'll come back tenfold in the end, okay? So then let's talk a little bit too then about as it pertains to customers, okay? So how do you achieve that alignment? And I think in order to do that you need to, again, seek to understand what's important to the customer. And before you can do that, I think that you need to kind of understand how customers behave, right? How they buy, why they buy is probably a better way to put that. I didn't print this properly. I apologize, but this is impulse, right? This is loyalty. This is wants, and this is needs. Okay, So on the outer, and the bullseye, again, is hitting the needs, you know, a little further out from center is impulse. So let's talk about that for a minute. So why do people buy things? Well, a big piece of why people buy is impulse. And if you guys can picture going into a Walmart or to a grocery store, there's all kinds of stuff that jumps out at you. Buy me, right? And so I don't know what the percentage is, but I know that those items are positioned in very high trafficked areas for a reason, and that's because psychologically and behaviorally, people tend to buy impulsively, okay? And probably to a fault on occasion. Hey, Dean Sherez, thanks for joining, Dean, out in Florida. The other reason I think that people or customers buy is sometimes it's around loyalty. And that could be loyalty to a brand, or it could be loyalty to the actual person that's selling, right? So, Vicki, how are you? Thanks for joining. I think you're out in Missouri, right? Outside Kansas City. Thanks for being on. So, there's brand loyalty, like, hey, some people are crazy about, I don't know, Sony products, right? Or in vehicles, people really tend to be very, very loyal. You know, there's people who are like, I'm a Chevy guy. I drive a Dodge personally. But so there's that kind of loyalty. But then there's also loyalty, like more of a support loyalty. Like, if your neighbor comes to you and says, hey, our kid's in a fundraiser and we're selling chocolate bars and it'll help them take their Little League baseball team to Mexico City. Hey, Becky, Fernando, thanks for joining. You may not really need that chocolate bar, right? But you're going to do your part to help support that individual because you like them, you care about them, maybe you feel obligated. I don't know what the case may be. But that's kind of that type of loyalty, right? Then the third type of purchasing behavior is around wants. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you the fourth one too, because I think that people get these things skewed all the time. And the last one is needs, okay? And so this kind of goes back to Maslow's hierarchy, all right? And it's interesting that needs is kind of the premise of all these. But I think people put wants into their needs all the time, errantly, okay? So again, when we think about this needs bubble is a little bit, maybe you can't tell on here, but it's disproportionately a little bit bigger than the wants, the loyalty, and the impulse buys. And that's because people want an education. And this is going to be, I know I'm going to get some people spooled up over this, right? But people want an education. Do people need an education? Type a 1 down in the comments section if you think that people need an education. Type 2 down in the comments section if you think that people want an education. I'm just kind of curious what I see rolling in. And I'm not really here to argue one way or the other, right? All I want to and that's a kind of a controversial topic, I just want to get people's kind of wheels turning, thinking about what are wants and what are needs. Okay? Becky, thank you. Becky put a 2. Any other 2s? Anybody think that education's a want versus a need? Okay. So look, it doesn't matter what the answer is, right? Again, I got you thinking a little bit, but just to kind of draw out, to continue to extrapolate the example a little bit, is, are there civilizations that have existed that did not have formal education? And maybe that invites the question, well, what is formal education, right? If I'm just following the model, the basic needs, safety needs, esteem needs, you could get by you could exist without an education, right? Can you get by without food? No, you can't. Hey, Matt Tierney, thanks for joining, bud. Can you be safe without an education? Probably. So social needs, do I need an education there? Maybe now we're starting to get into where education is, right? Esteem needs, most certainly. People like to not look like they don't maybe have answers to things. And I don't mean, that doesn't mean high school or college or whatever, right? It means, what does that formal education look like? But here's the point. The point I'm simply trying to make is that often, and I was hoping to have a few more responses to kind of poll and look comparatively, and I know that people watch these later sometimes, they're not always on live, but I'm going to love to go back and look at the responses of one versus the responses of number two, because it is a constant debate. And I think people get it wrong often, what wants are versus what needs are. And again, I bring up Maslow because I think absolute needs tend to be down at the very bottom rung. Anything above that, I would argue, is a want. Right? I think it's funny because you hear, my kids will come up and say, hey, I need $5 for whatever the case may be. And I'll go, well, you mean you want $5 for that? Well, no, I need $5. And in their mind, they're thinking, hey, transactionally, I need the $5 to get the end thing that I want. So, yeah, I get it, right? They're saying, I want the $5. I need the $5 to get what I want. But my thing is, it's one thing to need the $5 to get the thing you need than it is to need the $5 to get the thing you want. Hope that makes sense. So where am I going with all this? Where I'm going with this is that when you approach customers and you come at them and want to sell something, I believe, it's my belief, the biggest mistake that you can make, again, is to make it all about you. And this is where the servant leader piece comes in. If I make it about their needs, their wants, possibly their impulses, I don't know, first, then I may sell more of my product or services or whatever it is, and then I'm successful. But if I make it all about me and pushing my agenda on people, I promise you that's off-putting. Okay? So for example, this Facebook Live that I'm doing right now, what I love about it is it's completely voluntary. People can not click on it and view it. People can click on it, view a little bit, and go, meh, that provides no value in my life, not watch the rest of it. There's others that could watch the whole thing and go, hey, that was pretty helpful. I really enjoyed it. And there's even others that may enjoy it and find it so useful, they're like, hey, I know about 5 other people that could also find some value of that. And then right down here in the left corner, they're going to hit that share button. And hopefully that's the case. That's why I'm doing this. I have no personal fulfillment of watching my mug out on Facebook. Quite the contrary. It's weird. I don't like looking at myself or hearing my own voice. But I do this anyway because, again, if people are deriving any value from it whatsoever and it's improving their life, it's improving their perspective, then it's helping me move up this way here personally. I'm trying to pass along things that I've learned in my life through my career, through people wiser and more knowledgeable than me that I've been fortunate enough to be around. So, what might those wants and needs look like? Like, okay, so for example, like right now, I'm with a company and we're in the wellness space. And we have 5 different types of products. One's for an energy, one's for anti-inflammatory, one is for sleep, one is for nutritional supplementation, and one's for focus and memory. So I can either come out and jam that in people's faces, but I promise you the first thing they're going to do is just run away. Because I don't think in the history of Facebook anybody logged in and went, hey, I can't wait to get on Facebook today because I'm so eager to see what Sean wants to sell me. That's not why they get on, right? However, if I get on and I'm casually engaging with people and I have somebody say, man, I'm having a rough time sleeping, then maybe I can now say, look, I may have something that could help you sleep more soundly. I could have something that might help you fall asleep more quickly, or both. Would that be of interest to you? Yes, it would. I can't, right? I can't meet my basic need by not getting adequate sleep. Well, okay. Now I have something of value that potentially I could propose. Jesse, up in Washington State. Thanks for joining, Jess. So you see the difference? That I'm putting the needs of others first, and then if I can find a way to provide value to them, maybe I make a sale. And if I'm all about sales, then some need of mine is being met, right? Or if I just genuinely care that I want people to feel better, then that transaction meets that need, right? But either one of those are my needs. If I put those first, it's off-putting. Maybe I do have problems sleeping, but I promise you if I'm just, buy my sleep product, it's off-putting. It's gonna push people away. Same thing with the energy piece. Right? People saying, gosh, I'm kind of dragging. I hit the 3 o'clock wall every day and I start to nod off at my desk. And if I do it again, I'm gonna get fired. I got caught pulling a George Costanza around an alarm clock and I was sleeping under my desk. I don't know what your situation is, right? Or if you're like me, my thing is I fall asleep while I'm driving. So if somebody said, hey, Sean, you struggle staying awake while you're driving long distances. What if I had something that was 100% natural that helped you stay awake? You didn't have a spike and crash and didn't get the jitters. What would you think? Well, if I find myself in that situation once or twice a year, I may be kind of lukewarm, indifferent. But if I'm facing that every day, I've got a ton of my friends that live in Houston still, and I don't know whether traffic's improved much, but I remember my dad used to drive an hour and a half to work downtown every day and then an hour and a half back out to the north side. So he's driving 3 hours every day, and I promise you at the end of the day, his eyes were getting a little bit heavy. He might have been somebody that would have provided some value. But again, I would have needed to understand what his needs were before I sold that product, which then met my needs. So that's what we're talking about. Again, kind of with the brand partner deal. You need to sign people up on your team to grow your team. But again, are you all about helping them be successful and make money and achieve X, Y, or Z? Or is it all about you? I'm telling you, flip the script, put them first, and I promise you your success in your business will come. And guys, I'm talking about network marketing. This applies in every realm that I'm aware of in business. And somebody wise once told me is true success in business as a leader isn't about how many promotions you get, but about how many people you can get promoted. And I had another guy, and hopefully he'll be watching this at some point. I won't call his name out just out of respect, but I'll tell you that genuinely that guy takes more pride in the number of people that he's seen promoted to a vice president role. I was one of his proteges, call it what you want. And I remember the day that I got my first vice president job, and that was the first thing out of his mouth. I was dreading going in and having that conversation. I didn't want him to feel unappreciated or used or feel abandoned by me, because he had done a great deal to personally develop, but also put me in situations where I could develop myself to hit that level in my career. And so it was bittersweet to have to go to that individual and say, hey, I'm taking this VP role, and it requires that I've got to leave this company and leave working for you. And his response really caught me off guard. And, whether or not he knows this, I don't know if I've ever shared it, but it's out there now. That meant a hell of a lot to me. The response that I got is he genuinely lit up and said, I could not be happier for you, Sean. And frankly, his kind of personal, probably esteem or self-actualization was, his scorecard mentally was, how many people have I raised up to that level? Interestingly enough, the last VP role I recently left, another one of John's, I said his name, sorry John, another one of his proteges, if you will, if I can say that, took that role as well, yet another one. On the very day that I took my VP role, one of my peers also put in his notice that he was taking a VP role. So my point is that John is exceptional, I think, at putting others' needs before his own in terms of raising people up for their success. So what did that mean for John? And I'm being long-winded here, but I'm going to start to wind it down. Well, John's now the top HR job for two different companies that I've known, but one now. He's officially the chief HR officer. And I don't think that, well, there's two kinds of people to get to that role. There's those that sell their souls a little bit, and they step on enough people, stab enough backs, and they might get there, but they don't last long. Or they get there and they may not hear the whispers behind their back of how little respect people have for them. And then there's others that get there following that servant leader model that I'm talking about. They put the needs of others well before their own, and then they are lifted into those spots. So again, I ran a little bit longer than I'd hoped, but to sum it back up, it's really a few key things. One, continuation. I'm going to continue to beat the drum of the servant leader model because it is so very important. Put others' needs first, then align your needs. Okay, in past talks, I've talked about putting the needs first, but I hadn't talked so much yet about how to align with your needs. So hopefully I did that today. And then the second thing, again, is understanding. In order to do that, you need to understand people's needs, okay? And so where they fit on this continuum is going to be very instrumental in how you engage them, how you help them, and then until you do that, you cannot align that with your own personal needs. So I hope it's a pragmatic tool. If this was difficult to read, again, just check out Abraham Maslow, M-A-S-L-O-W, out on, Google it up, and that's what he's most renowned for. Greg Balke, thank you for joining. Good to see you. Fraternity brother of mine from Sam Houston State. Look up Maslow, and hopefully it'll give you a little bit more context to what I'm talking about. Always feel free to look up the servant leader model online as well. Hopefully you'll start to see this all tie together, but I don't care if you're in a position of leadership, be it formal or informal, whether you're in sales, but you've got to understand what people's needs are in order to meet them. And specifically, again, if you are in sales, again, just want to repeat the 4 different types of sales behaviors, which is impulse, loyalty, wants, and needs. And again, the tie-in there was the wants versus the needs, right? Needs being the Maslow stuff. So as always, I appreciate everybody joining. If you would, down here in the comments section, type a 5 if that provided some value for you, either on a personal level or a professional level. Again, as always, if there's something in here that you think somebody in your network would find value, hit that share button. What that does is it puts it out to your network and then allows people to choose whether or not they want to view this. They may or may not be able to see it based on the fact that you viewed it without hitting that share button. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. God bless everybody. You guys have a great rest of your week. I think tomorrow's hump day. So I'll be back on and look forward to speaking with you soon. Take care.